Hi, old guy in shed. Couple of things I'd like to sort of chat about before we get into the Moto Morini 3.5, because at last I've got it on the lift to do some work on it. As I've said, I've been meaning to do it for a while, but all sorts of nonsense have got in the way. But now I've got it on the lift and I've started work on it. But before we get into the Morini, can I ask a favour of you, good people who are watching this? Even if you don't personally watch it, can you let it run to the end? I'm noticing that on the algorithm thingamy on YouTube, one of the things is the viewing time, and a lot of people are clicking on and clicking off after a minute. Even if you don't bother watching it, I don't mind you not watching it or not even being entertained by it, but just let it run for a bit, will you? At least till the end. Sometimes the end bit's the best bit. Anyway, that aside, I went for a ride today on my V85 with my good lady, and we went to the seaside, and the new heated grips are epic, absolutely bloody wonderful. I'm so pleased that I've put them on. I did that on the last video. I don't know if you watched it. We'll put heated grips on and they're fabulous. Anyway, the other day I watched an interview with Jeremy Clarkson and Caleb Cooper from the Clarkson's Farm series. This wasn't part of the series, this was an interview with them about everything. And they spoke about avian flu. Now I knew it's about, and I knew it was bad, but they came up with numbers like 90% of birds have been affected, blah blah blah. I thought that doesn't seem right. And he also said that two of the bigger groups of birds that were affected were seagulls and starlings. And they were saying, you know, if you go to the seaside you'll see birds everywhere dead. When we went down to the seaside, I didn't see any dead birds as such, but I did look around and there were a lot less numbers of seagulls than I remember. And I pointed this out to him. He said, oh, there aren't many, because they used to be, they were almost attack birds on the seafront, you know, after chips and what have you. But there did seem a lot fewer, which is a bit sad really. I know they can be a nuisance, but it's still sad that because some of the lesser known species and lesser numbered would have been wiped out, I guess, which is incredible. Anyway, take a note yourself if you're interested and have a look to see how bad it is. Anyway, back to motorbikes. Because Jeremy Clarkson doesn't need any more publicity, certainly not from me. The starter motor didn't work properly on this Morini. It wouldn't start the bike and it sort of went to-junk, 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 and I thought there's something going on here, and I decided to pull the whole thing apart. I was gobsmacked at how odd the starter motor system is, firstly. And secondly, why did they do it? And I thought, this is overly complicated. They've stuck everything in a side cover. They put the starter motor longitudinally in the bike, behind this cover, with a 90-degree drive to get onto the flywheel. I thought, that's a bloody ridiculous way of doing it. It dawned on me they were right, because they didn't have to change the main casings, and that's clever, because what they did was they just made one side case a bit deeper, and here it is, and this here is just a bit deeper than the ones that don't have an electric starter, from what I can remember. But they cram it all inside there. Okay, the starter motory bit goes here, and then this mechanism on a 90 degree from the starter motor goes here. That mechanism is standard in my eyes. This is, let me just show you, let me just release it from there. This is the gearbox. Here's a cog here, you know, like a sprocket rather, not a cog, sprocket. The starter motor fits on here, and when it goes, it turns the cog. I said it again, sprocket. I do know what I mean, I don't always say it. Okay, that then drives through a chain, obviously because it's a sprocket, onto this chain, onto this drum thing, which has 3 shoes that when it spins fly out and go onto a drum that's riveted to the flywheel and open up and turn the engine over. Seems awfully complicated, but like I say, when it sort of dawns that the reason for it is so they don't have to make new cases, it's kind of sensible. Now, I think I found the reason why it's all went wrong. I went on the internet, as we all do, it's great in some ways. So I had to take it apart. It is very, very simple. The back cover plate for the starter motor has 2 long screws that goes right the way through the body and the coils of the starter motor, and on the back of it sits the brush set. The armature is here. This has like a flank drive for the gearbox, com here, commutator here, with the bearing on. Now when the chap on the internet does it, he takes out the long screws, takes out the short screws for the brush set, slides this out. Mine wouldn't slide out, so I got one of these little low lamps I use for soldering, and I warmed up the back of this casing, and it all slid out easily then, boom. Just like the man on the internet said. Great. So there we go. Now, I thought, well, I wonder if the brushes are gone, and that's the cause of my woes. Well, it could be. 1 or 2 of them were very worn down, and I will have to replace them, and some more than others. You know, so basically brushes are required. I thought, okay, but they're also making contact. May not be contact well, and that could have been it, but I wasn't convinced. So I really gave this a good hard looking at where the brushes sit. And there's this link here, okay, from one brush set, misses one, goes to the next one. This is normal, where you wire them up. And I noticed on this brush holder was a bit distorted over to one side, and a closer inspection, the rivet that goes right the way through, you see the brush holder is actually loose, so that rivet had come away from this link, so I don't think that was making the proper contact. Now I'm going to go have a go at repairing that, because I think I'll have something of an issue replacing it, and if I do screw it up, I've got nothing to lose trying, because no good as it is, so I might as well have a go at fixing it and let you all know how I get on with that. As 1 or 2 of you may have gathered by now, this tends to be my philosophy, which is fix things if you can, and if you can't, back to the drawing board and go and find some way of replacement. But it's not necessary to replace everything all the time. When we have to replace the brushes, they're worn down. They are an item that does wear out, so that's okay, like tyres. So that's more or less me. I hope you found that a little bit interesting. I mean, I know it was a very quick run through on the technicalities, but finding a silly little rivet that has parted company and that was the contact, it's kind of satisfying. If I can fix it, even more satisfying. But we'll find out as time goes on. So I'm going to crack on with the repair, and I'll either fix it or fuck it, and we'll see how we get on next time, and maybe we can then get on with the rest of the Morini, because once I've got that fixed, because it's not the prettiest bike on the planet, it is. It is a bit rough. And am I going to restore it? No, I don't think I am. I might do, but I doubt it. It is a scruffy little bike, but eminently usable. So I'm going to be, if I get the starter motor to work, and it's a very pleasant thing, it will be a pleasant thing to ride around on, I will start using it more as a go-to hack, because they are fun to ride, they're a lovely engine, but it would then become my go-to hack, rather than taking out my really nice bikes, you know, something to ride around on and enjoy, and we'll see how we get on with it. But let's get on with the starter motor first, let's see where we get to with that. Okay, this is Old Guy in Shed, saying thank you for listening, spread the word, thank you for watching, look after yourselves.